Hi, I'm Instant Strider with my Dark Soul Diaries entry 1. Now if you're wondering what Dark Soul Diaries is, it's where I take a look at Dark Souls and I'll be giving you like my impressions as I play through it, because if I'm going to review this thing it's going to be a long time off before I review it, so I just thought I'd give you my opinions on it as I play through it. I've never played this game before, never seen any reviews, it's completely blind, I've never seen anything to do with it. So I have no idea what I'm in for. I've already played a bit of it and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I'll be moving on to Dark Souls 2. Now this is the Prepare to Die edition. I don't know what extra content is in there, but it does say on the back, new areas to explore, new enemies to fear, new weaponry to survive, and new player versus player, which I don't think I'll touch. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. It's going to be like a kind of like a diary of how I'm doing with Dark Souls. I'll give you my opinions as I play through. If there's things I don't like about it, I'll tell you as I come across them. And same when I eventually get to Dark Souls 2. Now you're probably thinking like, why did you get Dark Souls and then get Dark Souls 2 and just get Dark Souls 2? It's mainly because of the reason that I always like to play the full series. Unfortunately I don't have a PlayStation 3 and I would love to play Demon's Souls, but maybe I'll come back to that at a later date, because I do intend to get a PlayStation 3 kind of soon, maybe in a month or two. Not a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 3. I'm looking forward to Persona 5 coming out, but that's a completely different story for another time. So yeah, it's going to be kind of like a review, just things I don't like about it, things I do like about it, just as I'm going through. So this could be seen as if it's spoilery, by the way, because I'm going to be talking about my experiences as I play through the game. So if you're thinking about playing through it yourself, then maybe you shouldn't watch these videos, or maybe just watch up until where you are and then click off or whatever. However is fine for you. So if you are thinking about playing these games, then yeah, it's because I'm going to be talking about things that are happening to me and how I'm finding the game, and if I die lots, which apparently is a Dark Souls thing. So yeah, when I started the game up, there was a bit of story going on. There was what was his name now? Was it Nix or Narth, or he had a weird name. There was this one. He was the first dead or something. He was like a big black flowing cloak with a bunch of skulls on her arms, and he looked kind of cool and everything. And there was a witch. Of course, all these names are not completely foreign to me because the story made no sense whatsoever. There was some witch dude, witch lady, sorry, and there was some Santa looking guy who could throw fire spears at folk, and then there was, as the game put it, the cursed pygmy. I was thinking, I'm sure we're not supposed to call them that. Like, I don't even know what the politically correct term is. It's not dwarf, it's not. Is it little person? Is it person of diminished stature? I'm sure as hell it's not cursed pygmy anyway. So yeah, there was something about them fighting some dragons, either all 4 of them or just 3 of them. You only saw 3 really do any fighting. Well then, yeah, so they were fighting dragons for some unknown reason. And then there was some scaleless dragon that betrayed his own people. Killed them all, and it was sat on top of a mountain of dragon corpses, and like screaming into the heavens, just like without none of his scales. So he looked kind of like, have you ever seen like baby mice? He looked kind of like a baby mouse because he didn't have any of his scales on. It was just pink. But of course fucking huge and not baby mouse sized. So yeah, during this battle there was a guy who died. Well, I should say lady, because I presume this is my character. There was a guy who died, but he had the dark mark on her. So I always impose myself onto the characters I'm playing as. It's like I always say him because it's me playing it, but I actually created her. Had the dark mark on her. And apparently this dark mark, if you have it, you're cursed to live forever, sort of thing. But as you have this dark mark, and if you die, you become more like a beast, a zombie. I think they call them something else though. Hollow? They call them hollows, which reminded me of Bleach. But yeah, there's this dark mark, and you become more hollow the more you die, and you need like souls to keep your sanity essentially, or something like that. Very weird, but in the land where this takes place, if you have this dark mark and you die and you start to lose your humanity and become more like a zombie, and then you're taken to the north to this undead asylum, which is where the game kicks off, and you start off in your cell. Now, as I said, I created female character, female knight, who I named Barry, and yeah, I chose the class knight and the gift of a locket. Now, there's all these gifts that come up. There was like twin humanities, ring of tiny gods, which in the item description it says regens health, but I thought that'd be kind of powerful for Dark Souls. But you choose a gift. The one that said locket, and it said a pendant that provides comfort. I was thinking, oh, that's an item that doesn't have any use. And there was another one further down that was Old Witch's Ring, which yet again it's has a purpose, but its purpose is unknown. I was like, oh, so there's like some weird like items that don't seem to have any use. So I chose the locket. I don't know what it does, or no spoilers in the comments please as well. If you want to leave like tips and advice, that's fine if you have played this game. Yeah, if you want to leave tips and advice, that's completely fine, but no spoilers. I don't think there is much story to Dark Souls. A friend of mine who has played it, and he was the one who convinced me to get the game. He essentially just said to me, like, because I weren't going to get Dark Souls 2, like there was a lot of people excited for it, but I weren't going to get it because I said, like, I've not played Demon's Souls and I want to know the whole story. And he said, like, well, that comes in item descriptions, and the Dark Souls games don't take place in the same world as Demon's Souls. So I was like, I was sold. It's just like, oh well, I never knew that. And the difficulty thing has always been not so much something I was like scared of. It's like, oh, I don't want to be dying all the time. I don't really have time to be, playing games for, like a couple of hours, and then, like I've not really made any progress. And I welcome a challenge. I played Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox, which a lot of people said was, oh, that's incredibly hard. But it was just a matter of figuring out movesets, really. So it's like, I welcome challenging games. It's like when I was a kid, back in the 80s, that's on my birthday in a couple of days' time. It's just like, back in the 80s, it's like all games were hard. It's like a lot of people just made them like so incredibly hard. Like Battletoads became famous for its difficulty. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became infamous for its difficulty. It's just like it came part and parcel with games. Then they were just hard. They wanted you to get your money's worth, and because you only had like maybe one or two games at a time. Even if that game was incredibly hard, you still got your money's worth of it. Even if it was a game that you completed, you play it again and again and again, because you weren't getting any other games for maybe 6 to 12 months. That's just the way things were. So the difficulty thing isn't a sticking point for me, and I kind of embraced it, and I strode out into the undead asylum, which is your starting position, fairly confident actually, and not really afraid to get into combat. There is like a hole in the roof of your cell where a guy drops a body down, which has the key on it to escape your cell. I don't know who that guy is. I may have met him already, I may not have, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I strode out into the undead asylum with Sir Barry, the Lady Knight. Fairly confident. There was I only had a broken knife, and I was thinking like not even a shield or anything. I was just like, oh, this isn't going to go well. But all the zombies I were coming across, the holes or whatever they're called, I was stabbing them up pretty competently with the rather bizarre controls, which I'm going to mention because I didn't like them, and you can't change them. There's only these controls. It's best if you probably play this when you're not playing another game, so that these are the only controls rattling around in your brain. Right bumper is, sorry, I'm just checking to make sure I frame this right. Right bumper is attack, right trigger is strong attack, right bumper I believe is block, and left trigger is parry if your weapon is capable, if your shield is capable of parrying, I should say, which I was getting confused with. I struggled with the parrying, I'll admit that. I did eventually get the timing down, but only in the Undead Asylum, because when you get outside the Undead Asylum, the timing is very different. So it's just like I was struggling with the getting the parrying down to begin with, and then I mastered it, but then lost it again completely. And you know, there's all these other buttons and the menus, and it makes itself very confusing, because as I was trying to attack, instead of going for the right button, I was instinctually going for the X button from playing Dragon's Dogma, and I was using my Estus Flask, which is your health restoring item in this game. I don't believe there's any others. I think it's just your Estus Flask, and you only have as many charges as are I think it's like 5 or something in the flask, and that's it for the entire game. You get your charges. I think you can actually get more charges for your flask, so you can keep restoring health, but I don't know. As I said, this is completely blind, but I do believe you can get more than just the 5, because you know, it does do a good job of filling your health like pretty much all the way up to full, at least where I am at the moment. I haven't like really leveled up much, or so yeah, I got through the first zombies, no problems. Obviously this was, you know, as it was teaching me the controls, because there was like messages written on the floor. Apparently I can do that myself. I know enough about Dark Souls, excuse me, to know that you can leave messages yourself as well. So yeah, but I don't seem to have that item yet, so I'm presuming I've got to play a bit more. Got through the initial zombies, no problems. I should say hollows, because that's what they're referred to as in the Dark Souls world. And I kept going, and I came across eventually just this room that seemed very empty. That seemed weird, but I was just like, there's something gonna happen here. I could feel it. My gamer's instincts that have been like, you know, there for 20 plus years now. I was like, there's something, and I took a few steps forward, and sure enough, this huge demon dropped down with very sorry, with a massive club, and I was just like, oh, this isn't gonna go well. Not in the slightest. He was just like, he looked mean, and I didn't want to face him. I just ran. I ran straight past his club. You can do a roll. I think you're invincible when you're rolling, because he swung, and I like rolled to try and get away from the swing, and I was way too slow, and the club just seemed to pass through me, and I didn't take any damage, at least not that I noticed. So I don't think I'd taken any damage up to that point either. So I didn't seem to take any damage. I think this is like when you're rolling, you're invincible. But no, because a bit later, I'll talk a bit later on. I rolled again when trying to escape an attack, and I took damage. So that can't be right. It may have just been with this boss, because, you know, like this was the tutorial, and I was already like in the deep shit. But I got out through this door, and the door slammed shut, and I could hear him stomping around behind me, you know. And I had a little wander around in this like catacomb-like area. These winding hallways. There was an archer zombie in there, and I got a shield, and I got a scimitar. Was it a scimitar or a long sword? I can't remember. I think it was a long sword actually. So I got a shield and a long sword. I was feeling a bit more capable. You know, I had some actual armaments. You know, instead of this nasty little broken knife type thing that I had. So I actually had some weapons. I carried on, and there was like this set of stairs that I come across that they had a boulder rolled down on top of me. I weren't expecting that at all. It just like whacked me in the face. I didn't have time to roll or anything, or it just whacked me in the face, took a bunch of health off. I think that was more to the fact that you couldn't actually avoid it. It was meant to be so fast, so it would hit you. Because as I backtracked through the area, because the door at the top of that area was locked, there was a hole in the wall where the rock had gone through, and I met this knight. It may have been the guy who dropped the key down on the corpse through the roof. He looked kind of similar, and he was saying he was like me. I was hollow. Oh yeah, after I created my character and created this beautiful looking female knight, I was then a zombie. So like my skin does seem to be replaced with beef jerky. If I'm honest, she looks quite horrible. So yeah, it's just like you go creating this character and then zombie. It's just like, oh really? So I do understand that in Dark Souls you get your humanity and such. I've heard people talking about it, but other than just like the odd snippet of information, like it's hard and humanity and a few other phrases like souls, I don't know anything about this game. So it's like I do have basic minimum knowledge, and even where I am in the game now, I still have basic minimum knowledge. When I finish the game, I'll probably have basic minimum knowledge. So I was this guy down here says, like, hello like you, I'm giving you an undead favour, an Estus flask, you drink it and recover your health. And then he died. I'm thinking, well, why didn't you use the Estus flask? I mean, if you drink it and that keeps you alive, why didn't you? It made little sense, but obviously it's just a game mechanic to get the Estus flask into your hands. So like, it teaches you then how to take a drink from it, which is just the X button. As I've already said, you press the X button, and instead of dealing out some pain like you're expected, you drink from your flask. There's no option to change the control scheme either, or even set up your own, which I was a bit upset about. I would prefer if that was light attack and that was strong attack, because there is a dead zone in the Xbox triggers, which doesn't make it. You can get them tightened. I've been thinking about taking my pad down to someone who can do that for me and get the triggers tightened, so as soon as I'm pressing them, that dead zone is non-existent. But with next gen, like here now, current gen, I guess, I think I'm just going to actually save some money up and get a PlayStation 4 maybe in a couple of months' time. I also want to go to MCM Comic Con, so I'm going to need some money for that. And I want to actually take more money than I took with me last time, because I was like worrying about bills and such. You don't want to be doing that when you're at a convention. You want to be spending some money. And there was some like awesome bargains, not even at the convention, actually in town, which Scottish was taking great delight in showing me this and like, hey, look at this, it's a bargain. I'm like, yeah, and I'd love to buy it, but that's another story for another time. So I was worried about bills and everything, but sorry, this is getting off topic, but it's like, so it teaches you how to drink the flask. I went downstairs, and then like the only option left me, the only option of exploration, was through the door with the big asylum demon in. I was just, but I had some like gear now. Well, at least I had a sword and a shield, something worth swinging at it. And I just thought, I'm gonna die. This game is all about dying, so it's just like I'm just gonna go in there, be brave, and I kicked its ass. I really kicked its ass all over. It's just like you go through. It's like you're on a ledge, like with the asylum. It's like I could figure out from where I've been walking around that I would come out above where the asylum demon was, and because you're looking down on it, like I kind of like figured out where I was in relevance to the main hall with the asylum demon in. I was looking down on it, and it's just like, to do a plunging attack, this is what I've written on the floor, press RB as you fall, which is your light attack. So I'm like, oh okay, I can do that, and it was right below me, and I dropped off and pressed RB, and I fudged it. I completely missed. I did the attack, I got the attack off, but I missed him. I didn't hit him at all. He just like moved or something, or I was just shite. So I had to fight him on the ground, full health bar, and I only used one Estus flask, as one drink from my Estus flask. As I was doing it, I was actually kind of surprised. I actually did kind of well. That sort of boss fight like really speaks to me. It's just like you have to like sit back, watch your enemy, watch what they can do. It's very old school. We used to have to do that. Games back in the day, like late 80s, early 90s, you had like to sit back, you had to watch your boss as you were fighting them. Sometimes your weapons would be ineffective in those games, where then you had to like switch to something else, like use some sort of like logical thinking. But it's just like you had to sit back, watch his pattern, and as you're watching his pattern, you're figuring out how to beat him. This guy only had like a few attacks, like a big downward thrust in front of him, which like had a shockwave effect. A large sweeping swing, which was in an arc, and he also flew up into the air, so he must have had some like tiny wings or something. I wasn't really paying attention to whether he had wings or not. I wanted him dead. He must have had some tiny wings or something, because I couldn't really like see them. They didn't look massive. And like he just like land down on his ass, and yeah, like that was also like a shockwave effect. So like that was like your prime moment to get in, like really give him a couple of hits. Like you could get behind him while it was swinging in the arc, if you were quick enough, and like maybe land a hit or two. But then it was time to get out of there. So I defeated him, and I got a key, and I went through onto this cliff. This like cliff that was all like, it looks beautiful, this game, I will give it that. It's very pretty, even though it's a few years old. It's like I was looking at this area, I was just like, God, this is beautiful, this is nice. It was very dark and depressing, but you can still sometimes like find the beauty in the darkness, if you understand my meaning. The area was just like really nice. It was all windswept, and it was dark and depressing. I thought this game looks really nice. For when did this come out? Does it say? It can't be that many years ago. I'm gonna say about 2008, maybe. I could be wrong. No, it's gotta be later than 2008, hasn't it? 2008 was a long time ago. Can't be 2008. It's gonna be about 2010. I'm thinking. Maybe even later than that. Maybe 2012. But I think it was earlier for some strange reason. I think there was actually a large gap between Dark Souls 1 and 2. I seem to think it was about maybe 20. Yeah, I think it was maybe about 2010. I don't know, to be honest. But yeah, I was just looking at like, this is nice. There was a nest over there where it was some birds saying, give me something. I was just like, I don't know what to give you. I tried to kick them, and unfortunately I wasn't using a weapon that had kick. It had kind of like a sweep of the sword and then like a backflip. So I backflipped off the cliff. And that was my first death in Dark Souls. I backflipped off a cliff. It's going to be a long game. Yeah. I hate that I backflipped off that cliff. So then Bonfire was just there, and I came back and just walked to where my souls were and picked them back up again. Thankfully they didn't go down the cliff with me. If that happened and I'm just like, your souls are gone now, I would have been like, oh fuck you, because I do understand that the concept that you use your souls to level up, but I don't understand the leveling goal. That was strange. I don't understand the leveling system all that well yet. It's just like it throws all this stuff in your face and it's just like, understand this. I'm like, I don't understand any of that. It's just like there's so much stuff. And your weapons, you don't really understand what you're looking at, because there's like symbols underneath your weapons. Like if you've got two weapons, there's like symbols underneath them. I don't know what any of those mean. I think one might be condition of the weapon. You know, like you have to repair them. I don't know, if I'm honest. I've been told about my friend who has played the games. He was like, if you want to play Dark Souls, don't look anything up. That's not the way you play the game. You have to go in blind. You know, you have to figure this stuff out for yourself, because if you like look up how to defeat a boss, you're not really playing Dark Souls. If you have to look anything up, you're not really playing Dark Souls. The only bit of advice he gave to me besides not looking things up is what was it said? Read the item descriptions. He was saying like there's more story in the item descriptions and other things. Make sure you read the item descriptions. It was weird that he was mentioning that, and I've been reading the item descriptions and so far it's just telling me what the item is, you know, with a bit of lore attached to it, like which is, you know, stuff, and this is Estus Flask and Undead Favourite and stuff like that, but I don't really understand. I think it probably means like bigger and more important items. You know, but I don't think it means like everyday consumables. But I've been reading the description of every item, because we were saying there's like lore in there and there's hidden things. You know, yeah. I just remember it being very weird. So I'm just going to keep doing that and checking out the item descriptions. If I figure anything out, then I'll let you guys know. But it's just like it was weird that he mentioned that. So yeah, I carried on up the cliff, and then it kind of like got very strange, because a giant raven turned up and it picked me up and took me somewhere else, or as I said to a friend, as I was talking to a friend like maybe 20 minutes ago, I was saying yeah, I got picked up by a big bird and tossed off in an unknown location, and then I just realised like, yeah, that's just like the standard Friday night around here. So just like, yeah, I've landed in this place. I think it's called Lordran. I'm completely lost now. It's just like the game just opens up. It's just like, here you are, go in any direction you choose. There was a way going down some stairs. There was a crazy blind lady down there who didn't speak, or maybe she's not blind but has no tongue or something. It's very strange. And I went down this like little passageway, and there was an elevator going down. When I stepped on it, I actually thought it was a trap, so I rolled off it quickly and just watched these like chains go down like real deep down. So I was just like, that must go to hell, and I chose I wasn't going that way. So I went the other direction, and like there was like a waterlogged temple. Like in relation to the bonfire, it's kind of like northeast east, if that makes any location, like if that makes any sense to you guys, because like my north was where this like castle looking thing was, so it's just like northeast east. It's kind of like up there and like follow it round. But I wasn't getting very far in that direction, because when I walked down there was a graveyard filled with undead. Like, we're not talking zombies here, we're talking skeletons. And these guys were fucking hard, they kept killing me, and I was just like, I don't understand. I'm obviously not leveled up enough. I went back and got my souls, and then legged it all the way back to the bonfire before they could catch me. And just like, I like quickly leveled up just a few things. I was like, I'll put up some more strength, or some more endurance. That seems to put my health up. I couldn't figure it out, but I put some things up anyhow, because I thought best to have them and like, have some sort of leveling going on here instead of none at all. So there was some undead. I thought, obviously not that way, I'm not ready for it yet. And I went my north towards this like castle looking area. Along the way I died a couple of times. The zombies here are a lot stronger, and there was some like asshat throwing fire bombs down from like up above, so I quickly learned to like kind of like go forward enough to get their attention and then come back, so I was out of the way of the fire bombs. I made it up there pretty safe and sound, like I kind of got the swing of things by now, and there was a giant rat in a tunnel, kind of like when I made it to the city-like area, castle-like area. There was a giant rat. I stabbed that thing up real quick before it could do anything nasty, because this wasn't like RPG, giant rat. This was giant rat. It was the size I was. So like, I stabbed that up pretty quickly, and I carried on a bit more. I got lost some with some zombies jumping out of boxes and climbing over walls and everything. I was terrified, because I knew if I died one more time, I'd be going back to that bonfire, and I want to go all the way back and have to fight all the way through these enemies again. And I had souls on me, and it became like, what if we can't get this far? And it was tense. It was one of them, like, I'll actually go as far as to say it's one of the scariest experiences in gaming I've had in a long time, because we don't get decent survival horror games anymore, and like this is the nearest you're going to get to a survival horror game, strangely, in an action adventure RPG. So it was tense as hell. Just trying to make it, I was like, I desperately need a bonfire, and this area is called Undeadburg, I believe, and there's undead everywhere. I still don't understand the controls, but somehow I managed to muddle through with liberal use of Estus Flask, and just not knowing where I was going, to stumbling around. I managed to find a bonfire, which is as far as I got. I rested up at the bonfire, and me and Sir Barry, Lady Barry, the Knight of Astoria, I think it's called Astoria, this place, as well as like, I think the world is called Astoria. The area of the world I'm in is Lordran, or King's Run. No, King's Run is Game of Thrones. Lordran, not Lord's Run. Lordran. Yeah, so I think it's called Astoria, the world, and Lordran is the area of the world I exist in. I hope, I think, maybe. If you guys know, just let me know in the comments. But because I've got to admit, the story is kind of like, shit's happened. You died during shit happening. Now go on an adventure. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Was there a prophecy or something. For all I know, I'm just wandering around murdering undead for no real reason. Maybe some story will become apparent in a little while, I don't know. Prophecy, chosen one. I'm meant to be ringing some bells. The guy who was at the bonfire, he was saying, I don't know what his name is, he didn't give his name, but he was like, the first thing he said to me is ring some bells. There's one up in a tower. There's a bell up there. I think he said he might be broken as well. And there's also one below. I'm guessing that's the elevator that goes down. So I have no idea. I'm just exploring. I don't know what I'm doing. And I've made it as far as Undeadburg. There's enemies everywhere, and I'm fucking terrified. This has been my Dark Souls Diaries entry number 1. Give me some feedback in the comments. Just like, as I said, I'm just going to be like talking about my experiences with it. It's kind of like a long review or a discussion, or however you want to see it. But I just wanted to talk about it because it's like, it is very good. I will give it that. What I've played so far, it looks nice. Difficulty in controls, difficulty in relation to controls at the moment. I'm sure that once I've picked up the controls a bit better and I understand the mechanics, the difficulty level will drop a little. The main reason why I'm finding it so difficult this more is because the controls are throwing me. So I'm pressing X to hit something as I'm stood in front of it, and I'm drinking from the flask, which kind of like locks you in place while you take a drink, and then they just stab me and kill me, because it doesn't just like you drink, bam, you've got all like 100 health points back. It's just like, it is an increase, like the bar does increase like pretty sharply, but you know, on this occasion it was where I got killed from trying to drink from a flask. It was enough to kill me. So I've had a few deaths, me and Lady Barry, but we're at a bonfire now. We're safe for now. I'm gonna go and play a bit more and just see how far I can make it. I'm in the Undeadburg. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm completely lost, and I'm loving that feeling of being in a world, you know, an unfamiliar world. It's like an unfamiliar land. I don't know where I am. It's brilliant, and I've got very little guidance. It's just like go out and complete your quest. I don't even know what my quest is yet. So as always, I've been N7 Strider, and I should go.